Hey guys, we're back again. Today we're going to be talking about a question I get in the comments all the time. I haven't wanted to address because it's kind of a sore spot for me, but people ask me, do I think America is trying to provoke China into a military conflict? And it's not an easy question for me to answer because I'm not a person that likes conflict for nations. So when I look at nations, I wish that we all could have peace together. But for some reason, the country I was born in for the last 50 years, it seems to be involved in one conflict or another. And it's either all out war or just these little teeny tiny conflicts here and there, like we just had with the Houthis. And if we're not directly involved or indirectly involved, such as our proxy war with Russia through Ukraine, or even with, the genocide in Gaza, where my tax dollars are paying for IDF soldiers to shoot into starving crowds of women and children. And it's extremely disheartening to me. I don't like it, but what can I do about it? And just over the weekend, though, I saw Pete Hegseth, our U.S. Secretary of Defense, give probably the most hawkish speech I've ever heard on China from a U.S. politician, period, bar none, in my lifetime. I mean, in history, you could go to times and see other periods where there have been very harsh talks. But in my lifetime, he definitely upped the ante. So this was at the Shangri-La conference held in Singapore on May 31st. Hegseth went in and basically he announced that America is an Indo-Pacific nation. But right off the bat, he says America is an Indo-Pacific nation and that our interests are Indo-Pacific nation interests. So think about what's being said there. We don't have any land in the Indo-Pacific region. You could say, well, Hawaii's in the Pacific or Guam, but those are thousands of miles away from the areas that he's talking about. And it used to be called, just the Southeast Asian region or Asia Pacific, but now he's saying Indo-Pacific because he's trying to bring India into it. And you got to say, why is he trying to do that? Well, because he's trying to surround China completely. And understand that we already have 200 plus military bases throughout Japan, down into South Korea, into the Philippines, and up now through Afghanistan, all around China. And we have been patrolling those seas, the Asian shipping lines, also for the last, it's been like the last decade. So America's presence there is already so strong. But Pete is acting like we left and now we're back and we're never going to leave again. He said that. He said, we're an Indo-Pacific nation. We're here to stay. Our interests are the interests of this region. So if you're in that region, I'd like to hear from you in the conflicts. When Pete says this kind of stuff, what does that mean to you? To me, it means that he thinks of America as a hegemonic power, and he essentially said as much, and that our goals for the world are the world's goals. And he even went into the conversation and he even said such things such as for ASEAN nations to have economic ties to China could be problematic in the event of conflict. And of course, he's talking directly about China, right? So he's saying ASEAN, which does 1.8 to 2 times the trade with China that America does in total output, he's telling them to make a choice, either between us or China, and that their economic ties to China, if there's a conflict, could be problematic. What does he mean by that? Well, he means that if we're going to use your nation, whatever nation you are in the Indo-Pacific region, but if we're going to go into conflict with China and use you to stage our conflict as a proxy, if you have deep economic ties to China, that's going to create a problem for us to use you as a proxy. You might actually resist us. And if you're resisting us, then you're going to become the enemy. And we're going to rain fire down from the sky upon you. Because you need to pick and choose a side. However, remember that when you pick our side economically, then we're going to tariff you. Because America is the hegemonic power, not you. And so your interests are our interests. If your interests aren't our interests, then you are the enemy. They have to be aligned with what we see. And so this type of rhetoric, it drives me insane. And then he went on, and he's going on in the speech, and it's like he's at a Trump rally. And it's like, listen, buddy, you're at the Shangri-La conference in Southeast Asia. Nobody cares about these talking points you're making. You're not at a Trump rally. But that's how these guys speak, right? That's what America does. We insert ourselves into everyone else's politics. He paints China as the aggressor, saying China's making aggressive moves. China has not been in a military conflict since 1970 something. So it's been almost 45 to 50 years. America just got done getting our butts kicked by the Houthis. And no, I'm not a Houthi supporter. This isn't for or against the Houthis, okay? All you people in the comments will come in and be like, you're a Houthi supporter. No, I'm not. You know, President Trump, I try to respect the office of the presidency. I don't like to be one of these people who go on here and just trash the guy utterly and objectively. But when he talked about going to war with the Houthis and bombing them, that was the most childish and disrespectful things I've ever heard in my life. It was one thing that just drove me nuts. He's talking about something that should be seen as a last result, which is bombing another group of people, going into military conflict with another group of people. Last result, and if you do it, it should be treated with respect. It's a respectful matter because no matter what, people are going to be dying. It's not a good thing. It's not a joke. It's not funny. It's a serious matter. And he's talking about like, my bombs are bigger and better than everybody. They never felt bombs like what I got. And like, he's just such... It just bothers me, okay? It really bothers me. As a president of the United States, I would hope that he could just, at some point, grow up. But he's 78 years old, so obviously that isn't going to happen. And then guess what did happen? America, which is a hegemonic power and has no real motive to fight other than that it just wants to bully people, fought with the people who actually believe in something. And so those people were like, you can't bully us. And they stood up to America, started firing with their rockets, at our ships. They're just teeny tiny makeshift rockets. And I'm not saying this to demean the Houthis. That's just because we spend $1 trillion on our military. What are they spending? Multiple orders of magnitude less. And yet they got a couple of our aircraft carriers that have to take these huge turns, and a couple planes fell off the aircraft carriers. And then, oh my gosh, America looked like chumps. Here we are losing. I think they said one of those planes was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and it just falls into the ocean from the Houthis. Think about that, right? The big bully $1 trillion budget defense that Hegseth was bragging about. We're spending $1 trillion, and we're losing hundreds of millions of dollars to the Houthis, to some young guys going around carrying, $1,000 piece of equipment or a drone. Think of how embarrassing that is. And Trump didn't want to be embarrassed anymore. So what did he do? Sign an agreement to stop the bombing, stop the war with them, have them stop firing on our ships, which they wouldn't have ever did it if we didn't get into their matters anyways. And then he's like, oh, they're really strong. They're really dedicated. Well, no kidding. They have a cause that they believe in. It's just like with the Philippines. Philippines is having some maritime issues with China over like the exact boundaries of their reach into the ocean, territorial waters, right? So went to the ICC. America has nothing to do with it. It's not America and Philippines versus China. It's China and the Philippines. And yet here we are inserting ourselves into the middle. And then what do we do to the Philippines? Oh, hey, yeah, give us access to your bases. We need more access. And the Filipino president's so dumb. He's like, oh, yeah. And so pretty soon he'll probably be fighting a proxy war for us, just like Ukraine. And then just like Ukraine, Trump will go over there and be like, hey, you got to give us all your rare earths for us defending you. So anyways, Hegseth went on that. That's why he said extremely hawkish, just outright saying that China was the adversary. And so is America trying to provoke them? I mean, I hope not. In my heart of hearts, I really hope not. I hope there's cooler heads. But it's like, oh my gosh, everything we're doing economically, from the export controls, right, and all their chip companies, now onto their military companies, from going ahead to the G7 and trying to economically align the world against China with tariffs, telling the G7 that they should tariff low value Chinese products. And then, of course, what they're doing with a fact that we have 200 plus military bases. How many military bases does China have around America? I'm going to give you a guess. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. 0. Okay. We have over 200. And the fact that we're patrolling their waters, not China's waters, but waters that aren't ours, that we're nowhere near. The fact that we're going to these conferences and we're saying that this area, the Indo-Pacific region, that their interests are our interests, and we're nowhere to be found. That's my opinion on these things. Mutual cooperation that's beneficial to both sides. I totally agree with that on all matters. I think it's the best way forward. If you like this type of content, please hit like and subscribe down below. If you don't agree with me, leave a comment. If you do agree with me, leave a comment. If you have a spare cup of coffee, change, or whatever, you can become a member for, I think, $4.99. Also support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you soon.